very, very busy professional. She is the Senior VP and Country Head of the Singapore office from Frost&Sullivan in representing Asia Pacific as well. And she has more than 15 years of global sales and marketing experience, having worked with clients across Asia Pacific, Europe, and North America. Whoa. She specializes in demand generation, sales management, and market development. And since joining Frost&Sullivan in 2006, she has organized several high-profile summits and award banquets and achieved a lot of success. So together with the Asia Pacific events team, she has been managing Frost&Sullivan's flagship event, Growth, Innovation, and Leadership. I think you can still catch that in, hook up with Cindy, because there's a lot of media links that you can also click through and then read more about it. And she actually did that across 8 cities in KL, in Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, Indonesia, Korea, and also Japan. And Cindy has supported clients in the region. And I don't know where she gets time to rest. All I know is I'm just so pleased that she agreed to come to this webinar to speak itself. But what I can tell is that she has a lot of domain knowledge, and she believes in grooming the next line of talent as well in sales and then business development, and also she has led quite a few media and events firms, such as, in MediaCorp, IQPC. I remember IQPC, all right, my era, and Marcus Evans as well. So today joining her is Yolanda. Yolanda, hi.
Hello.
Yay. Thank you so much for joining as well. So Yolanda is a certified ICF executive and transformational coach. She's based in Singapore. And of course, she provides a pretty wide range of executive coaching and career coaching services. Go visit her website, because she has, lots of experience coaching over 1,000 professionals in senior executive role, high potential individuals, and also startup founders. I think I really find that very, very interesting. So when I first read about her profile, I said, I really have to get Yolanda here, right over here. She has helped, so many individuals in her 20 years of professional experience in becoming an executive coach herself. And what's really interesting is her own career journey, assuming various leadership positions in well-known, organizations such as MasterCard, Visa, Lazada, Alibaba, HelloPay, and then a fintech startup in Asia Pac, emerging markets as well. Again, another very, very busy individual. So she's highly regarded, and also she keeps herself very busy. She participates a lot in various events. She's a regular guest speaker in INSEAD, right? Executive education classes. She also teaches fintech courses as well, right? In Hong Kong University, local universities like NUS and NTU. And if you read a little bit more about her, there's the artistic flair to her profile. And she's also a very young scholar. So super, super impressive. She's a founder of her own coaching practice, Re-Perspective Coaching. Now, together with Cindy, both of them are going to help us answer this question. All right, what can candidates do to be included as a pipeline talent? And that's like really, coming in on a very, very, very special route. And so all the more being visible to your future employers is going to be so important. I'm just going to stop share here and then pass the floor to Cindy while she brings us through to quite, the inside view. Okay, I think I'll just shut up.
Thank you so much, Eileen. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to the session, which is called What Can Candidates Do to be Included as a Pipeline Talent? I think when I started it, I also need to check what is pipeline talent. So before I start explaining just how Eileen has said it, so I've been with Frost & Sullivan for more than 15 years now. So this is a rather different career path compared to many people out there. I actually stick with one company for more than a decade. So how do I get myself continue to be excited and motivated in a company? Frost&Sullivan, we are growth consulting as well as we do market research. So from that point of view, we have the perspective and work with clients across different projects. So therefore, my career journey is also evolving, doing different types of, whether it's industry or whether it is the marketing projects or whether it's a business growth project. So that kind of help to keep it going on a daily basis to continue wanting to wake up in the morning to get started. So what I'm going to do today actually is start with the evolution of recruitment process. Now, if many of you or some of you are in the era that I was, 80s and 90s are very different. Okay, where internet is not so popular, how we apply for job is every weekend we buy Straits Times. Saturday, Sunday has got a very thick, and then we flip, and then we pick what is it that we want based on the description that is written there. There is very little opportunity for us to research on the internet, the background of the company, other than big companies that we know like MediaCorp, we know what they do. And then I'll cut out, and then I'll file it, and then I print my resume. The resume is always standard. I can't change it. It's always printed. And then you put an envelope, buy stamp, stick it, and then you cost money to apply for each job. So from the employer point of view, advertising for job is a very transactional thing. I have a vacancy. I put in the description. I set it on these three ways. Either newspaper or career fairs or job supplements kind of magazines. And then I get a whole bunch of all these resumes, and then I sift through and I pass to the hiring manager, and then they do the interview. So the pipeline talent there is very different. It's a transaction. There is a sales, there is a HR, there is a marketing. I apply for it. But today, we're in the world of internet. Almost all of us apply our jobs through the internet, whether it's JobSearch or some sort of portal. Maybe another 1-2% would go through networking or referrals that you get your job, but most of us would use internet. And what that means is also from the recruiter point of view, we also have software out there to help us sift through. Because when you think about it, when it's easy for you to apply, it means I receive more. When I receive more, I also have to sift through more. So the job scope has changed tremendously. So in this case, I will talk a little bit about the software, which then leads to the topic on pipeline talent. Okay, so this is Frost&Sullivan career page. We use this software called ICIMS. And you can see if you go in there, you can see all the different open position and the cities and things like that. So what it does for this page, I'm going to give you some insights from the employer point of view. We get them, and the technology itself also help to see for us. So they will profile you in a certain way. So it really matters on what you write. It matters on how you highlight your resume. And it also matters how you customize your cover letter or your CV according to the position that you're looking for. So templatized era is over. Even your phone is customized. Everybody's app is different from my app, is different from Eileen's app. So customization really makes a difference. And that would, in a way, highlight yourself to the employer. So let me just share a little bit of this applicant tracking system. So what it actually does, it helps to remove all this time-consuming process of reviewing opening envelopes. Instead, it will help to do the first round of screening. And then after that, it will give the employer, the recruiter, the opportunity to source for passive candidates, to build talent pipelines, and to advise the hiring managers what are the trends out there, what are the hiring, maybe in terms of the market rate, or what is the kind of popular job titles. Because career now is not transactional. When I interview, when I put in a request on this that I want an employee, I also need to think through what am I looking for from these candidates, the keywords that I put. Because when I bring this person on board, may it be from sales or marketing or operational, it would have a longer journey and has to be in line with what the company is doing. So if the company is looking to have more growth in the region, so someone who is willing and open or have the experience would then help. Of course, like if you say you speak Japanese or something, then yes, put that in. So that's why it's not a transaction. Customization matters, and also thinking on the longer term that you're growing with the company, because you're not applying just one position with the company. Okay. So this kind of pretty sum up some of the key points in terms of pipeline talent. I talk about the recruitment system, how we use it to engage, to review, to continue talk to you, because I can archive some of the good candidates that bring out certain parts of highlighted different parts of their career. So maybe not something that's relevant now. I find this person very potential. I might put it in a different archive box. And of course, your social media profile. There is a summary sort of column there. If you can put some keywords, highlight, that would also bring out if we are searching passively for candidates who may not be actually reaching out. So I think there's one of the question is, how do you get people noticed you as one of the question. So of course, your hard skill and soft skill, right, to be something more specific, like, I've achieved quarter to quarter growth of how many percent, those kind of things. And lastly, achievements. I find Singaporeans and Asians are very shy. So be bold, write in, highlight things that you've done, like how Jonathan said, all the different activities. I think those are very commendable.
Nice.
Okay, so just one quick slide. I want to talk about future of work. Also because we do research, as you know, and we did one paper which is called the Global Future of Work. And this research actually covered three things: the place of work, the future workplace technology, and the workforce. So if you see on the right-hand side, which is the generation breakdown, today your colleagues are going to be a combination of baby boomers and also millennials. Like, I'm stuck in between. My boss is 10 years younger than me. So if I have a conversation with him or the way he thinks, it has to be something that we have to be in line. So likewise, the millennials will also be holding big position, like Facebook. The CEO is very young, not very young, but in his 30s. And what we also see is the change in terms of the workplace. I think working hybrid mode may still be continue in the next 2 to 3 years. And what that means is there's going to be more freelancer out there. Jobs may change in such a way that allow balanced work life. If you have questions about whether you want to take a break, or is it really I must clock in 9 to 5, does it matter? Not really anymore, because work has really changed tremendously because of the infrastructure of the mobile and the wireless that we have, the 5G and the mobile phone and the Zoom. And I think Zoom is enjoying right now, but in the future, some other technology will take over. And on the left-hand side, bottom left, I put some ideas of job titles or job areas as well, where you see as technology evolve, the jobs also will evolve as well. So these are some of we see in the future would be some of the opportunity kind of work that if you're looking at. And I've also put in just a small percentage in terms of AI. Will it take over our job? No, not really, not now, at least in the next 3 years. We feel that it will create jobs and have very little effect in terms of the employment in the 2025. Okay, I think that is pretty much the introduction that I have. What I'll do is I will hand over to Yolanda to share her career journey.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Elaine, for the introduction, and thank you for having me here. I'm going to share a bit of unusual career journey, as Elaine has kindly introduced that I really had pretty long, winding career. The truth is I had 7 different types of career paths in the past 20 years, and I had probably over 10 different jobs with different companies. Sharing a little with you, I started, maybe could you help me to press so that it starts showing up? Yes, okay. So the first one, I started as a software engineer because I was trained as a in computer science, and that was the only choice. Within 3 years, I decided that I loved humans much more than computer. And I didn't know that computer engineers today is highly sought after. So at that time, I was very decided that I want to be in the business. And after that, I went into the next phase, found myself a job in sales, selling solutions, which were HRIS solutions to companies, corporates. It was the single hardest career transition I had because as an engineer, I was not able to speak business English. I didn't even have the confidence to really do presentations. So you could imagine there were 8 months of break in between trying to get myself a change of profession and trying to educate myself and train myself in being able to speak in front of others. And after those 2 companies, I tried my first startup in recruitment. And I was running the startup for about 3 years. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it was ending in the year of 2008 when Asia financial crisis started and my big clients were not able to pay. We had to pivot into multiple different streams. Well, the company survived and we did well. I just started to feel there was a meaning crisis, and I joined Robert Waters, which was a large recruitment house. So there goes my 6 years altogether as a recruiter. So the thing I love about being a headhunter was really, it was the time where, it was in 2010, and Singapore was becoming APAC hub. A lot of people were coming here, and there were many candidates who were returned from home, kind of mom who wants to go back to workforce. There were foreigners who were trying to get a landing in Singapore. There were people who were badly in need of a change of career. And instead of, for whatever reason, I was doing the interim kind of placement for the mid to senior hires. And so I had a lot of these sort of odd profiles who couldn't really fit into the JDs that the employer was looking for. However, it gave me the biggest satisfaction because I helped them to repackage or rebuild their images and looking at the underlying connectivity of them or their life journey versus what the client is looking for beyond the JD and the CV, and really go into who they are and what the company is essentially looking for beyond those keywords or the skills in that sense. And from there, I was having some of my own life questions. Do I want to be a headhunter for all my life? And I was really hungry for more perspectives. And so I went to INSEAD to do MBA. So from there, I took a very different career path after INSEAD. I landed in a company called Lazada, which I'm sure you are familiar with. At that time, Lazada was the single largest e-commerce platform, and later it was acquired by Alibaba. So Lazada also Cindy, could you press? Yeah. So in Lazada, I did a few different jobs. First of all, I was ramping up the brand engagement with their largest global brand in the whole Southeast Asia region. And then I was also country head for HelloPay, which was their e-commerce their fintech or e-wallet arm. And when Lazada was acquired by Alibaba, I was the first employee to be sent to Hangzhou to manage the post-merger project between the two companies for commercial aspect. And after I came back from Alibaba, there were a lot of changes, and I also decided to take a bit of a step back to go into large corporates, have a bit, more work-life balance. That was the choice. So there goes MasterCard and Visa, where I was the APAC director for business development and working with digital partners. And in Visa, I was working with banks. So if you look at my career, It was totally not linear at all. And sometimes you could say like I took a big detour away from the corporate, and I was quite on track at the beginning. I worked with NEC and the global companies. I worked with Success Factors, which was almost the unicorn of those days, as one of the earliest software as a service company. And then I went to S3, and then I came back, and then I left again. So there were a lot of these things. But it really gave me a lot of insight. Number one, being a recruiter those days before INSEAD really helped me to land all the jobs I wanted after that. And it really helped me in the sense that to understand how I can pull together a narrative when there is no proper narrative at all. Like the first day I remember when I joined Lazada, our CEO, Maximilian, he was sitting opposite to me and asked me, "Oh, you are an employee. What new employee? What did you do before this?" And I said, "Oh, I was a recruiter." And he's like, "What the hell you are doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, sorry, too late. You already hired me." Right. And it was really during the interview with Lazada, I was just presenting myself as how I have my B2B sales experience and how I had my entrepreneurial take back in my startup days, how I was always solution oriented in selling and making it a partnership when I was in the software as a service company, how I'm able to do, analytics, looking at business from my MBA experience. So all these things I put together and show them I don't know anything about retail. I don't know anything about e-commerce. However, all my skills plus my drive to constantly sort of evolve myself or reinvent myself, it's going to be an asset to you. And I proved that when I was with them, I was agile, I was able to fit into different roles, right? So that, I think my biggest learning here is also always coming back from my days as a headhunter to look at individuals as people with that potential to reinvent himself, to learn, to change, and to adapt, instead of looking at the person equivalent to his profile. And because that is also not what the recruiter or employers truly believe, because employers want to hire any single person to expect that person to perform and adapt to the new environment and live up to his true potential. So now on the right side is my current part of my journey where I feel I have come to a very settled place. So I ran a YouTube channel where the top one will be talking about myself. I said three things. One is how I found all the jobs. And as you saw, I really found a lot of jobs. Two is how I found happiness. I think happiness really, if I move along this index, is my happiness at work was constantly increasing and it peaked now. And the third thing is really how I found purpose. I think it was a lot of learning about myself, that I have a very strong learning inclination and I have a very strong value about supporting others for similar journeys. And when this come together, I found my purpose. And I believe in how we look at our life, the perspective we have decides on the reality we have. And it decides on what kind of reality we go on to shape from there. So I named my business Re-Perspective. If I just can go to the next page. Yeah. So you can search for my YouTube channel, Yolanda Yu at YouTube. Here is all the tips that I had. On the right side, you see what I have brought from the back room of that agency recruiter, the secrets. And also in the center is what I learned from INSEAD of our star professor on negotiation. That's the single biggest thing I've learned and taken away from the business school about what negotiation really is. And the first thing was something that was rather popular because people were looking at, entering e-commerce or fintech industry. So I put something that is insider kind of insights. So yeah, so feel free to go there. And these are not something I do in my coaching sessions, because in my coaching sessions is always very personalized. I work with the person, but in the YouTube channel, I want to make all these available for all.
Yeah, I think this is very, very good. And I didn't have time to peruse everything, but I strongly encourage everyone to go in and take a look. Yeah, I think Yolanda, you've put in so much effort.
Thank you, Elaine.
So much work for sure. Yeah, cool.
Okay, so we will continue with the session. So how we wanted to design this is that Yolanda and I thought that to make this session something that more beneficial to the audience, something you can take away. So we make it more of a discussion, and we have come up with 4 key questions that we feel that would be relevant to this topic of how to be visible to employers, how to be in the pipeline talent. So the first question we have is how to make the job application stand out to the employers or recruitment agencies. Now, I know Jonathan mentioned a few things there. So in this case, what we'll do is Yolanda will share with you from the recruitment agencies what they really see, how they would look into each application. And for me, I will share with you my perspective based on employer hiring, what kind of things that I see. So with that, maybe Yolanda, you'd like to start first?
Okay. So I think one thing is that a lot of the, because I work with candidates or, generally job applicants, a lot of applications never reach you. Because people have such a strong self-filtering mechanism. The first thing I work with my clients is about, can you apply for more? And it sounds so easy, but it's actually the single most difficult thing, because they have a lot of belief like, I don't qualify, what if I look bad, that I keep applying, what if I get the job interview that I don't want, then it consumes my resources, which is never true actually. So I think that's number one, that people need to remove some of the, beliefs about they will be judged or they will be dismissed once they send the application. Just people then send. And the other 2 things I want to highlight, I think one is really what I also touched on, is that how can we have a resume or LinkedIn that tells a story? And that really connects with Jonathan's point as well, right? Nobody is interested in seeing bullets that I am a team player, I deliver results, I'm results oriented, I'm problem solver. Nobody likes that. But tell a story about who you are, about what you have experienced in both professional world and also personal individual world, in terms of your story that would deliver the idea of these messages of who you are and what you are capable of. And the next point would be about the belief about what employers really want. It's important to understand what employers want, but it's not for us to assume. The best is really to do a very, very thorough job or the company research in tandem with the job, the company, the industry research. So I also made one video, which took me 2 weeks, how you can research a company. So, and once we have that, then we are able to really embrace the value of the employer and highlight that in our storytelling, in the resume, and also in the interviews. So I think those things really will come across really genuine and really stand out.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
there was I know, because there's a question in Mentee, and I think I hear this question quite often as well, which is, how do you, the question is around ATS and e-recruitment system. So the do's and don'ts, and how can they, as job seekers or candidates, ensure that their resumes are not filtered out, because they're fighting the robot or the automation or the AI. Yeah.
So in line with what Yolanda just said, I mean, there's even a research say that your resume actually for the recruiter is some say less than 10 seconds, some say less than 30 seconds. Actually, 10 seconds is quite long. If I pause for 10 seconds, will all look away and log off already.
Yeah.
So imagine there are so many, and we would love to genuinely go through every single one, because we know application and resume takes time to put together. But with all respect, there's also time involved. So the first 10 seconds, we just, and we swipe. Like how you swipe, yes, no, same, we also swipe. So how do you make sure we don't swipe left or swipe right, right? So you have to put a bit more research. And then when you write in, whether it's a cover letter or there's always a form to fill, right? You say, why do you think you would like to apply to this job? Why do you apply for this job? So those kind of questions, write in a little bit more personalized based on what you've researched. So that will help really, because your resume could be flip, but when I see that one-liner, I will step back.
Okay, just a very quick follow-on question. Would you prefer to receive a cover note, on just plain CV?
It depends on the application. Some would say yes, some would say don't need. Yolanda, your view?
Yeah, Yolanda.
I come more from the job applicant's perspective. If it's a job that you really like and it's a company you connect with, then spend the time, write the cover note. But I would always decide, it's about ROI. Almost, applying for a job is almost like a full-time job.
Yeah,
So how do we spend our time? Usually how I do is that I work with the clients to identify, okay, there are broadly 2 or 3 types of job and company that you really like. So we have 2 or 3 job resume templates according to that. And then for your top, your love companies, then tailor even the CV and tailor a cover letter for them, right? And that's because it's going to be worth your effort. But for the rest, you don't have the time to do that for everyone.
Okay. And since we are on the topic of CV, I thought I'll squeeze in I promise, just
Sure.
one. promise. Yeah, because
Sure.
I think some speakers hate it when they're disrupted. But this
Not
question
at all. That's why we
is,
have this session.
okay, so this question is, question to both of you, of course. Do you actually, when you look at the resumes and then there's a sabbatical gap, in terms of spiritual development and stuff like that, do you frown on that gap? Do you like zero in on that gap and then forgetting about everything else? And is it a bad thing, So what's your opinion? What's your like spontaneous impression of a CV that has a gap?
You want me to go first, or Yolanda, you want to go first?
I always see as a coach, I get very curious about that gap, because that's a lot more chance about bringing out the person who he or she is. But when we work on that as a recruiter, I want to say, make sure you don't leave space for speculation, right? Because if you don't explain it, then the recruiter or hiring manager would be speculating and say, this guy is irresponsible, this lady is whatever, right? But if you explain it, then the person at least gets one copy of explanation, and then you get the chance to explain in the interview.
Agreed. I mean, like I said, in going forward, the work is not going to be, I always go office at 8 o'clock, I leave office at 5 o'clock, or I stay back until 8 o'clock. It has changed so much. It is really the value that you bring in and how you grow the company. So even if you take a break, like what Yolanda said, what did you do? If it's something that you would like to take sabbatical, or you want to be a full-time mom.
Okay, I've muted.
Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, some people just want to be full-time mom, because my kids is going through PSLE. That particular year is very important. These things has become more acceptable, and especially when I said the workforce now is the millennials, and they are from a very different mindset of thinking. They're talking about contributing back to the society. They're talking about your work, your personal and entire wholesomeness is actually a brand itself to the company. So it's not I'm a very diligent 9 to 5, I will bring a briefcase to the office anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
So, Cindy, Yeah, I really connect with your word of wholesomeness. I feel like a lot of people, they actually create artificial gap. So let's say if someone has been a marketing professional and she did an HR job for half a year somewhere, she would remove it from her resume and she says, because I'm applying for a marketing job. But I said, no. First of all, you made an experiment to see if you like it. Secondly, what if there is an HR firm that needs a marketing professional? And thirdly, this is who you are. This is your journey. Don't create an artificial gap. Bring the whole of you, because you are not in the right position to assess what is useful and what is not, because opportunities lie ahead. Nobody knows. Some of these parts of you could come in handy. And I'm a good example that I have brought a very mixed bag of things, and I'm conscious of bringing all of them together. For example, me being a writer actually benefits me being a coach, because it's about storytelling, it's about understanding people, it's about communication, right? And I'm also conscious of taking whatever is irrelevant into the picture for my clients as well, because it is who you are. So for example, like a client who is so good at soccer, he plays soccer, and he never mentioned that in LinkedIn or his resume. And the first thing I said, this is a great metaphor about how you work in a team, how you work in the society, and how you see yourself as the heart of the team, right? So all these things job applicants tend to leave out. And to me, that would be the best answer to this question, how you can stand out, because you are being who you are. That would allow you to stand out.
Yeah, so it's very positive, all right? Bringing in your whole self into the application itself. Let the employer see the other side of you. Cool. All right.
Okay, let's go to the next discussion point. It's all right. That's what the fireside chat is all about. We thought that this will be more rather than, we keep presenting. So we can, Eileen can also join in the conversation. Okay, so the next one is more of making an outstanding impression in a virtual job interview. So we decided to put that in is because we feel that pipeline talent as the theme, it is something that when we speak or when we come to that stage where you're doing an interview, how would you highlight yourself that if that position may not fit, it's not all lost and gone, but there is still that you had a great bonding with the employer, then the interview went well, then you might be still in the pipeline for the company when they are ready for that position. So that is how we thought that this question comes out as might be relevant on how to stand out. And Yolanda, over to you. That's what I put that in terms of the question.
Okay, so I think, of course, are the basics, same as offline, right? You want your attire and your lighting, your internet and everything to be working. But I think most importantly is to be able to bring that energy. I have spoken with people who are, they position their whole camera like this, or they position like this, right? That's just not most optimal, but they don't realize. But what's important about this whole energy, I noticed that for introverts, actually being in the protection of camera seem to be better. Like introverts usually feel more safer in their home, in the comfort. But the extroverts, in a way, they suffer a little. They always say that I have coached quite a few extroverts, and they're like, I feel so uncomfortable. I can't bring my energy into the space, and I'm like shortchanged. So I think that's really a lot of things we can do to work on that, to really make your presence and your energy come through, and not making this a barrier, but the video form of the interview, an advantage. Like I have coached my clients to bring their trophy, or maybe like in my case, you can see my bookshelf, which makes a talking point, or people who have their kids. That's all, the kind of opportunity we never had in the past to bring that wholesome part of us into that interview.
Yeah, I mean, I recall before the COVID days, people or some candidates would say, is this confirmed? Because I apply 1 day leave to come for interview, so it must be confirmed, because they apply leave ahead. Now it's all Zoom interview. So these are things, if you think about it, is actually to your advantage, some of the good side of things. But yes, you may not be putting on your best dress, but if you're doing virtual, you can still dress up nicely, put on your perfume, whatever that makes you feel confident. You may don't have that firm handshake that you have, but if you look fresh and you smell good, and although only you can smell, but it makes a difference, that smell actually gives you the confidence to have a great conversation. And I think I usually advise to please rehearse. I know you know your CV, you know yourself so well, but just read through one more time just before your interview. And also read through the job description of the position that you're going to apply for. Then write down areas that you would like to highlight, whether specific achievements or relevant or testimonials or names that you know, companies that is their competitor or companies they may resonate with. So write these sort of notes at the side just before the interview, so that you can highlight, and you remember to highlight, because when you go with emotion and they ask you a question, you may forget certain things. So it's important to please read again your resume, put down a few notes of your achievements that is relevant to that position, and ask question. Be bold. Ask them, what is your company's plan in the next 3 years? It is you gonna also be part of it, because it's you don't want to go through the whole journey of applying. It's very tiring. So if you want to make your investment in this company, it is a two-way. You have to be sure that it is something that help you grow, because you don't want to be jaded at some point.
Nice, very nice. And I think making an impression and to get your name into the pipeline, so to speak, it's really, something which more of the job seekers can practice, because, we tend to look at the immediate opportunity and then thinking that, oh, well, I don't think I'm going to make the cut. And then they kind of just walk away or give up altogether. So I really like that, mentally get into the groove of things, right? Very nice. There's actually a question. Someone actually DM me in the chat. Maybe it's by mistake, but I'll just ask the question. Is it more advisable for candidates to actually work with recruiters, or should they go direct to the hiring company, i.e. hiring manager?
I let the recruiters, because we go through recruiters too.
Okay, Yolanda?
Okay, I'm always on the side of the job applicant, so to me it's whatever works. But in general, when you send in the job application, it would go for the company recruiters. Sometimes if you go for the hiring manager in networking, and I'm all for that. I think that's a very good way of if you can get any engagement, and once you enter that formal process, then the hiring manager would move you to be in touch with the recruiters and to facilitate all this, which is the most optimal situation. So I don't think the touch point matters so much, and do respect that if the hiring manager says, this is my recruiter, go and talk to my recruiter. Do not persist, right? Go for whatever works best for them. And you can always, as things are going well or not, or you can always send a quick note to the hiring manager and say thank you for this, and then we are progressing well. Look forward to meeting you at the next session, right? So don't give the transactional and operational things to your hiring manager who is busy with their work.
Yeah, nice. And Cindy?
For us, I think it's both ways, because we just receive resume. I like, similar to Yolanda, I think you go both, whichever you think.
Yeah. So okay, I hope that answers the question. That's cool.
Eileen, anything you want to add to this outstanding impression on virtual job interview? Your point of view?
Yeah, I think the main thing here, which I've also mentioned repeatedly is human connection and psychology, because of the 5 organs, the eyes actually pick out, way more, 10 times more than the rest of our, auditory, like we hear. So if you have a choice to go on video interview compared to audio interview, please choose video interview, because then visually the mind can imagine you in the role. The more we allow the interviewers to do that, the better. So number one, look for the chat button, because if you don't get, for introverts especially, you don't get the chance to speak, type, right? So that might be something very useful as well. I am just very mindful because there's a question, about how do you justify a break? What about returning, moms, right? Moms who took quite a period of time and then coming back. Do they actually make it, are there employers out there who actually take the risk and then bring back, moms who take a extended period of time? Maybe I'll ask Cindy first.
Oh, okay. Like I said, it is a transition that we're going through. So if you think that when you're ready to start again, you may also have question, what if the workload is too long? What if the work hours is too long, right? So why don't you start with something that gives you the opportunity, whether it's a shorter time, whether it's a contract, whether it's a freelance, or different types of work opportunity out there to get you into the system, right? You've probably been away for a while. There's bosses you need to report to, there's HR you need to go through, and then you have the colleagues that you don't know what your colleague is going to be like. So transition yourself, don't need to plunge immediately. If there are some roles that you can try out first, you can do that, because don't be pressured. Your life career journey it's a long journey. Trust me, retirement age, our minister already says it's going to be extended. There will be more aging population, retirement age will be extended. So you don't have to worry, there's no work, there will be work. So just slowly get yourself accustomed, is my point of view.
Cool. Yolanda?
Yeah, I like the word Cindy used, transition yourself. I even created one video for this as well, because it's so common, and it's not only for the stay-at-home mom, but also people who are, who were running their own business, and then because of COVID, they have to go back. Or people who are like me, who are trying out different industries and wanting a different change, right? So all these career changers who had maybe quite a piece of time, either it's the person was not working, or the person was in a different country, or the person was doing something irrelevant. Everyone faced the same thing. First thing you have to do is you have to believe it is possible. Because if you don't believe so, then what we see is that people give up. And you give up, and then you start to tell yourself, it's not possible, so I gave up. But it's actually because you give up and it's not possible anyway, right? So I think, to me, the key thing, of course, is to, first of all, acknowledge it's difficult, right? There is a break, there is something you're not adding value to them immediately, but you do, you need to really put together your experience and to keep ramping up and get there, and designing the steps to get there, let's say landing in some of the jobs in between to create that transition Cindy was talking about.
And I think it's also the mindset. Really, work has changed. I mean, before COVID, all our life it's dedicated to work, right? Then COVID happens, all of us stay at home. Then somehow priorities change, where family and home somehow have a bigger share of pie of our daily life. So when that happens, it actually changed the whole perspective of work life generally. We are still productive. If you look at Singapore overall, we're still growing. I think people are also looking at new ways of doing things, especially with the technology, also make a difference. So I also, maybe the advice to you is, when you are ready to get back to the workforce, there's no need specifically to be something you think is going to be what you used to work. There may be a new career you like to embark for a while, like how Yolanda mentioned earlier. She tried different things, and that connecting the dots could essentially be some that leads or be beneficial to the next one that you're going to get across.
Okay. So there was also a question around.
Sorry.
So can I squeeze that question in?
Sure.
before any one of you Bamus. So this question is, employers tend to be a little skeptical of candidates who are on contract, who are contract hires for like a span of 2 to 3 years. So is this true? And also, if it is, how do they overcome this during an interview? You know, like why do you remain as a contract hire as if it's their choice for 3 years? Okay, so Cindy?
I mean, if it's from Frost&Sullivan or from my point of view, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Good news. So I think you're going to have a beeline of connection requests on LinkedIn.
It's really the work that matters. It's not so much of, I don't know. I don't know how that, maybe Yolanda would share other companies, but from where I've seen it, no.
Yeah. I think the gig economy is on the rise as well. Yolanda?
It's very case by case. So whenever we have put in a contract, and sometimes, people who do a lot of intern nowadays, I would take very tailored approach. Like for some people who had like 10 different contract jobs, I actually would compress them to make them like one segment, and I'll dilute. And for some people who had too few jobs, I may bring out some of the contract and intern jobs to make them look like more experienced. But again, depends on what they have learned in that, and what kind of feedback they have gathered from the employer. Is that a good story to tell? Is it relevant? If it's about, just being in a restaurant, being or in a bar as a waiter or waitress, you may not want to put it in unless it is a story about how you come out of poverty, how you come out of really poor family background and making yourself sustainable and all that. Then that becomes a different story, right? So depends. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think exude the confidence and all that. All right, we are 2 minutes past 4. I'm very mindful both speakers have a hard stop actually at 4 o'clock. So I just want to thank, Cindy and also Yolanda for being here today, on this brief chat, but do catch up with them, because I think Yolanda has already mentioned her website and also her YouTube channel. Go in there, then you'll discover her artistic flair as well, beyond just being a poet. Okay. So we are still here, and then so do connect with Cindy and Yolanda. It's all there. You can find them in LinkedIn as well. Thank you so much. We'll catch up again, Cindy and Yolanda. So
Thank
nice.
you.
Hopefully we can bring you two back again.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.